welcome members to our Standing Committee meeting today. It is the 7th of September 2021. The time now is 9:05 and the meeting is taking place on a virtual platform via MS Teams. My name is Derek America. I'm the Standing Committee Chairperson of the Local Government Oversight Committee in the Western Cape Provincial Parliament. So on behalf from myself, a warm welcome to our members present and a particularly warm welcome to our guest member, or not guest member, but Honourable Murray for his attendance to our committee. I also would like to make a special welcome to Advocate Maasdorp, who is the legal advisor of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament, as well as Mr. Johan Vermeulen, who is the senior procedural officer. So, members, without further ado, could I have an indication of the members who are present so that we could, for record purposes, have it on record? Could the members please introduce themselves?
Good morning, Honourable Chair. Andrikus van der Westhuizen, a member of the committee, and welcome. Good morning to all our colleagues.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, everyone. Matlodi Maseko, member of the Standing Committee.
Yeah. Any other members present?
Good morning, Chair. This is Peter Marie. I'm an invited guest, member of Parliament, but not of this particular committee. And thank you so much for the invitation.
A warm welcome to you, Honourable Murray, for your presence and your interest in the affairs of this committee. Colleagues, Johan Kutsia, are there any apologies that we need to take note of?
Chairperson, no, I did not receive any other apologies.
Are there any alternates registered that's present in our meeting?
No, Chairperson.
Have you sent an invitation to the meeting to our permanent representative in the NCOP?
I did, Chairperson. He did not confirm whether he would attend, so I didn't hear from him again. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kutsia. Colleagues, we are curated, so the meeting will proceed. As per normal, this meeting is take place via MSM Teams on a virtual platform. We are very conversant with the rules governing our virtual meetings. May I just for the interest of our members that we do not have translation services available for this meeting, but that doesn't preclude members from using a language of their choice, and we will make every effort to, if need be, to have such communication translated. So, colleagues, this meeting is primarily to consider and adopt a report on the final mandate that we will confer onto our permanent delegate to the NCOP in relation to the Local Government Municipal Systems Amendment Bill. And that is B2D 2019, and it's a 76 bill. Now, all the colleagues who are members of this committee have received all the documentation relating to this particular bill, and that means that way back in our meeting in May, I think it was the 11th of May, we have finalized our negotiating mandate during that committee meeting, we had various presentations by the department, by the National Assembly could I say member of COCTA. We had substantial input and contribution from Advocate Maasdorp, who assisted us in formulating our negotiating mandate that we conferred to our NCOP delegate for presentation in the NCOP meetings. What did you call that meeting? I think it is, I don't know if it's a standing committee meeting, but whatever it is called. And it is regrettable that our permanent delegate is once again not present in our meeting. He was not present in our last meeting when we negotiated our mandate. A mandate that he needed to, present and defend. And it is regrettable that he's not part of this meeting today to give us some insight in terms of the deliberations that unfolded with regard to the finalization of the Systems Amendment Bill. But members have also received minutes of that particular meeting where the various provincial mandates were considered and adopted. So what then transpired from that particular meeting of the committee in COCTA that deals with this legislation, that all the 9 provinces, presented their mandate and also sort of tried to advance their provincial interest in terms of, what the bill needs to contain. And then all were considered, and some of our positions and some of the suggestions that we forwarded to make the bill a more sort of improved piece of legislation were considered, others weren't. And those minutes were, provided to us, not in detail, but what was also provided to members was the PowerPoint presentation where each of the clauses that were presented for change were considered, and some were agreed and some were not agreed, and that was also provided to members, and we will not go through that. Then finally, colleagues, part of the information that was provided to you, documentation that was provided to you, is the C list of the bill and the D list. Now, the C list contains all the changes that were effected to the bill, and the D list is the final bill. So that's what we have in front of us today. So we as a committee expressed our position in our meeting on the 11th of May that we support the bill, but we'd like to see our suggestions that we forwarded to be considered, but it is not suspensive to those conditions or those sort of amendments to be adopted. That's the long and short of it. So some of it, as I was saying, some of it were accepted, others weren't, and that is just how it goes with the negotiated mandates. So colleagues, I am going to present to you in a table the minutes of the meeting of the NCOP that occurred on the 31st of August. All our delegates were present at that particular meeting. The meeting then resolved that the sealers and the minutes of proceedings should be shared with all the provincial legislators, which they did. And then the date of the final mandates will be communicated to the chairperson, and that would be on the 14th of September. That's the long and short of it. And then, colleagues, the bills that were presented for us to consider is the sealers, whereby it merely just give us an indication of the changes, the amendments that were effected and were agreed to, and then the final bill, which is the dealers. And I could simply just quickly just mention is that the Local Government Municipal Systems Amendment Bill, and it is B2D 2019. This particular bill contains all the changes that are sort of stated in the C list, and those are the changes to the final bill, and this, the D1, is the final one, final bill. So that's where we are, colleagues. I'm going to present that to you, and I'm going to table it at this meeting. You have the documentation, and if there's any discussion any comments you'd like to make around the bill, you can do so, and thereafter I will ask Advocate Romeo Mastur if he has any comments in relation to the bill, and if not, and then we will consider our final mandate report that we will forward to the NCOP. So, colleagues, Honourable Marais, I must state that all of your concerns, or much of your concerns that you raised in our last meeting, are being addressed by this bill, particularly with regard to your concern in terms of the appointments of senior managers and in municipalities, and discipline and all of those things. This bill seeks to speak to all of those issues that you have sort of expressed yourself so eloquently in our last meeting. So with that, colleagues, opening the floor for discussion or comments that you'd like to make. Good morning, Honourable Makamba Boicha. Welcome to our meeting.
Good morning, Chairperson, and thank you very much. And my apologies for being late. I was struggling with network.
All good. Thank you. Right, colleagues. Any comments and that you'd like to make? Bearing in mind that at our meeting on the 11th of May, we have expressed our support for the bill. I see Honourable van der Westhuizen, and may I also ask colleagues, you have received the presentation of the various clauses that were considered by the NCOP and what was agreed and what was not agreed. Do you think that there is a need for us to have a look at those? If not, then we can simply just consider it being, scrutinized and studied by the members. Honourable van der Westhuizen, I recognize you, please. You may proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, it is my impression that since we supported this last time, and since there were no changes that I could pick up that I believe we as the Western Cape would not support, that we then mandate our representative in that committee of the NCOP to vote in favour of this bill, also with the amendments as brought about in the NCOP. That is my proposal.
Thank you, Honourable Van der Westhuizen. Before we proceed with that, and I must say that upon scrutiny of the C lists, and those are really just technical things that needed to be corrected, and it didn't substantively differ from the B lists that were presented to us. But I hear you. Thank you, Honourable Van der Westhuizen. Any other member would like to? Honourable Maseko?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I think I agree with you of the technical thing that doesn't add that much value for us to can say we have to go through the whole document. So I am in support of the proposal by Member Andricus van der Westhuizen.
Thank you, Honourable Maseko. Honourable Maredi, do you have a copy of this bill and the documentation? We can let you have a copy of the bill if you don't have a copy of the bill, seeing that you're not a permanent member of the committee.
I will very much appreciate that, Chairman, but I trust the committee because this was a unanimous decision. This committee, there was no nobody in the committee I sense that was against it. And I think that the intention of the bill is what we must look at. The intention, what was the intention? It was to solve a problem, not to create one. So my party in the national government supported this bill, so I would be out on a limb if I didn't support it here, but I don't have a vote, so it doesn't matter if I support it. I just want to thank the committee for sterling work and the seed list which they compiled. And if they satisfied that the seed list was addressed, there's no need for anybody to go against adoption of this.
Thank you, Honourable Murray. Mr. Kutsia, you will send Honourable Murray the presentation and a copy of the bill?
Chairperson, I think if he looks in his inbox, he will have it right now. I just sent it to him.
Great, thanks a lot. Honourable Makamba Boycha, is there anything that you'd like to add?
Chairperson, thank you very much, and my apologies once again. I just want to understand, currently, are we doing a voting for this bill, or what? Where are we at right now? Sorry, I logged in late in the meeting.
Yeah, where we're at now is that on the 11th of May, we had a committee meeting where we considered the negotiating mandate for our delegate to the NCOP to present. At that meeting, as we were saying earlier, the department and SALGA and various concerned parties, gave an input in terms of how they view the proposed amendments, what those proposed amendments should be. Advocate Master made a substantive contribution also in terms of us formulating our mandate for the NCOP. This was done then on the 30th of August, the NCOP sat where they considered the mandates of all the provinces and all the provinces, and this is the sort of instruction we gave our delegate, supported the bill. Certain of our proposals were accepted and others weren't, and that is usually the case. So now we have the final bill in front of us. And we need to, as a committee now, need to decide whether we will continue to support the bill as it is in its final form. That will once again be taken to the NCOP, and they will consider the mandates of all the provinces on the 14th of September. That is next week. And then if, which is likely the case, that's the end of the road. And then if the NCOP adopt the bill, and then we'll go to the president for ascension, and hopefully it will be done before the new councils come into being, or before new municipal managers are being appointed after the elections. So that's basically the long and short of it, where we are. So that's our purpose here today, is to express in the form of a report whether we will continue to support the bill or we're not supporting the bill.
Okay, Chairperson, thank you very much. I'm not sure if I'll be out of order. If the meeting can allow me to do a quick consultation, then after the meeting, I can send an email and copy everyone about the stance of the EFF on this, because I need to do a consultation with the national. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, Victor, you can do that. So finally, I'm going to hand over to Advocate Master if there's anything else that you would like to add and make this committee aware of before we proceed to consider the report. Advocate Master, you have the last final word that's going to assist us in our decision.
Thank you, Chairperson. Yes, thank you for the opportunity. Chairperson, you will recall, and I also heard now you repeated, that the position of the committee really at the previous occasion was to support the bill in principle. But also, being the lawmakers that we are, we also recommended certain changes to national, and I'm pleased to have read, as you confirmed, that quite a few of those proposed changes were accepted. The other changes that we proposed that were not accepted, I must say, in as much as they were proposed substantive changes, their omission or their non-acceptance does not render the bill in any way fatal or constitutionally challengeable. It was just from our side an opportunity to ensure that the bill speaks to our respective experiences as lawmakers and as citizens on what kind of instruments we would like to see out there to manage what the bill says, issues like corporate governance and those kind of objectives. So like I said, we did indicate that we're supporting the bill in principle. I'm pleased that quite a number of our changes were indeed positively considered, and those that were not, like I said, do not in any way compromise our mandate or render the bill challengeable. Maybe that firstly. Let me just venture on the following as well, Chair. You did indicate that the permanent delegate is not present in this meeting, was not present in the previous meeting, and from what I gauge, you indicate is that you are not aware of the reasons for that absence. That is an unfortunate occurrence because, Chair, there's a reason in our structural setup. There's a reason why we have a permanent delegate. That individual is a critical link to ensure that the sentiment, not just the letter, the sentiment, the spirit the good faith of our engagement in the committee is conveyed, so that when that is done with that mandate, the member, the delegate, reverts to us to convey equally why, on what basis, on what legal grounds a particular input from our side is not accepted. So that it's not just as clinical on the letter, but we get a sense of the sentiment on that side and vice versa. We are lawmakers. That dynamic between us and national is a critical one. That's why constitutionally it was decided that there should be that liaison dynamic. We have not been favored by the input from national, from our appointed delegate. This person does not do us a favor. I mention this because part of the lawmaking process is not just the input of members, is not just the input of the legal advisor and the procedural advisor, is not just the input of people from outside during our public involvement process. Indeed, it is a multi-layered, comprehensive effort as lawmakers, including the permanent delegate, to ensure that the product we deliver on behalf of the nation is a well-considered, well thought through product that is constitutionally sound. So I am sure outside of this platform that the chairperson will raise the issue of us being robbed of an opportunity to have the input of a permanent delegate. So Chair, barring those input that I made now, legal technically, I have nothing further to add except that to express my encouragement that our sentiments on the other side were largely accepted. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Advocate Marstorp, and may I also once again thank you for the substantive contribution you made towards our negotiating mandate. And members will recall at the meeting of the 11th of May, the enormous sort of input you have provided to us as a committee in terms of formulating and structure our mandate in a more substantive way. And I share your sentiment that you expressed in terms of the link and the permanent delegate. And it's a matter that I have, because the previous piece of legislation in terms of the Structures Amendment Bill, the same happened. And I've raised that matter to our chief whip, etc., that she need to deal with it, and that perhaps we should do the same again, because as you correctly stated that there's a particular reason why matters have been structured in such a way that bills are tagged 75 and 76, and we need that kind of sort of synergy between this arm of legislation and the NCOP and permanent delegate that we elect to that structure to represent us and provide us with, I would have expected that kind of feedback at today's meeting, and we, as you rightfully say, we were then robbed of that sort of knowledge or that sort of input. Honourable Marais, I'm going to recognize you, and then I will recognize you, Jan, or is it, do you need to go first? Honourable Marais, please.
I listen to Advocate Marsdorp. I think the issue is really the structure of the NCOP is faulty constitutionally, because not a single bill that's been referred there has been rejected outright. They can't do it. They can only have a limited veto in any case. A limited veto, and then it goes back to Central Parliament who votes on it, and because the majority party in the NCOP is also the majority party in the national government, those other provinces, the other 7 provinces, go there with a mandate from the National Assembly. So they can't vote against the National Assembly because they will be out on their pants out of the NCOP if they do that. So I think that the structure of the NCOP is faulty, doesn't protect provinces. We can go cap in hand, yes, and all the negotiation should not be between the committee and the NCOP delegates, which is actually useless. It should be the province and legislature having, in terms of cooperative governance, a meeting at national level to try and persuade the National Assembly to tell their delegates in the NCOP on how to act towards a certain bill. If that doesn't happen, when National has decided to send a bill under 76 to the NCOP will just be a rubber stamp. They're not going to go against their party. That is my opinion, and I think it's a valid one.
Thank you, Honourable Maria. Thank you for expressing yourself. It's noted. Thank you. Johan Vermeulen, I recognize you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I'll be quick. I just want to say procedurally something about the system, the system between the NCOP and the provinces. I think the soft underbelly of this whole procedure is definitely the permanent delegates and the lack of participation at times. And what do I mean by that specifically in this case? In this meeting that we're sitting today, it's a report back meeting. So at least there's minutes and stuff and so on. So you can see what was adopted and what wasn't from our province. But okay, you don't have an explanation necessarily why. That would have been nice. But for me, the biggest problem that we've faced and that we've seen over the years, Chairperson, is that where a committee deals with an intricate piece of legislation, Section 76 legislation. Sometimes we as a province have come up with real detailed proposals in that negotiating mandate report, right? But then, Chairperson, if the permanent delegate is not part of that whole process, I'm not saying that he should be part of all the public hearings, but somehow that permanent delegate should be able to take that report, which could be complicated, and to go and explain and go and sell it to the committee at the NCOP. And that is why I'm saying it's a soft underbelly, because that is what's not happening. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Johan. You know what was of concerning to me the last time is that at the NCOP meeting where our mandate was discussed, that our permanent delegate was not even present, so although they accepted many of our proposals, but it was based on the strength of the proposals and not in terms of the presence of our permanent delegates. So, and that should have motivated me to have had a discussion with the chief up at the time to express my views around that. And I think that Johan, Advocate Romeo Bastorp, I will once again, and I don't know if it is in the right way, draft a letter and send it to the chief whip, and then they need to deal with it. The NCOP, whatever, I don't know how they're going to deal with it, but certainly it has to be done because there's a particular reason why we do have permanent delegates. So, yeah, any other, if we have exhausted our discussions on it, Johan, can we then proceed with the report? Can you project it that I am alive to Honourable Makamba Boycha, that she is going to consult with political structure whether they should support the bill, but that doesn't preclude the committee from considering our support or not support of the bill. And as Advocate Master was saying, in terms of there's nothing unconstitutional about the bill. This is not the support of the bill. This is merely just a report that we confer upon our permanent delegates in the NCOP, and I read it. It's a draft. The report of the Standing Committee on Local Government Municipal Systems Amendment Bill B-2D/2019 NCOP dated 7th September 2021. The Standing Committee on Local Government, having considered the subject of the Local Government Municipal Systems Amendment Bill B-2D 2019 NCOP, referred to the committee in accordance with Standing Rule 217, recommends that the House confers on the Western Cape delegation in the National Council of Provinces to support the bill that was mooted by Honourable van der Westhuizen and seconded by Honourable Maseko. Right. Johan, what's that? The report to be considered, that needs to be taken out.
No, Chairperson. This report is considered by the House, and that's why we also say recommends that the House.
Yeah, so it goes to the House for consideration. Yeah. Okay.
The negotiating mandate won't have that in.
Okay, fine, good. So there you are, colleagues. I note the input made by Honourable Makamba Boita, and it will be conveyed to Johan, and if need be, it will be sort of contained in the minutes of this meeting if it differs from the sentiments expressed in our meeting in terms of our support for the bill. Honourable Maria, is that the legacy hand? Is that the new hand?
Do apologize, that's a legacy hand. Thank you for not calling it an old hand. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Right, colleagues, there you have it. We had a mover and a seconder for this report, Johan. So the report is adopted by the meeting. Yes?
No, I say thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So, colleagues, in terms of our agenda for the meeting, that is the only item on our agenda. And if that is the only item and has been concluded, allow me to thank you. I know it's been months before the finalization of this mandate. And I thank you for your patience and your contributions, and in particular the support staff who has always diligently performed their duties in terms of ensuring that we do what we need to do. And particularly thankful to Advocate Marstorp and Johan van Bellen for the role that you play in keeping us on track, and Advocate Marstorp for your technical and legal expertise and your assistance in that regard. And Johan, I see you flash Gordon.
Oh, no, nothing, Chair, sorry.
Okay. And lastly, to our support staff, Mfundo and Candice and Sirat that was with us earlier. Thank you also for your sort of assistance and support. And Johan, thank you, Johan Kutsi, for the role you played. And I'm eternally grateful for your guidance and assistance. With that, colleagues, I think we have come to the end of the meeting. Have a lovely day and all the best. And we will see each other next week again. Thank you. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Chair.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.